All right. Good Monday evening, Mid-Michigan. Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick with a quick forecast update for you tonight, or depending on how long this takes and how many questions you might have, could go a little bit longer than just a quick update for this evening. So did want to give you a quick update on what is ahead for tomorrow morning. It is not going to be something that I think is going to be a major winter event, but some of us could have the potential for some snowflakes to fly tomorrow, and I think the potential for a little bit of rain to mix in from time to time. So the sky tracker tonight really doesn't show all that much. Everything looks like it's in pretty good shape here as far as just the fact that we've got clear skies overhead, or mostly clear skies overhead. But that could change as we go through tomorrow, as the system is getting itself organized just a little bit further to the west of us. If we zoom out to areas like Iowa, into the South Dakota region, and even into Minnesota, that is where some of our active weather is. So let's just go right to the hour-by-hour forecast, and I'll pull this up full screen so you can actually see this as we take a look at it. As we go through tonight, we're not going to see anything for quite some time, but we do expect as we get closer to about 7:30 tomorrow morning, we'll likely start seeing some precipitation at least getting closer to us, or it might be right up to the border of areas like Gratiot and Shiawassee County, maybe even into portions of Isabella County as well. But this is a system that I think is largely going to pass by to our southwest. And notice as we look at some of the temperatures around the area, as we fast forward just a little bit, you'll notice that by the time we get to about 10 o'clock, a lot of these are starting to come up to about 34 degrees, 35 degrees. And so the timing with this system might be playing a pretty good role for us as far as, I think, West Michigan, where that system comes through a little bit earlier. I think those areas are probably going to be a bit cooler. Those areas will likely be in the 20s, so I think there's better potential for some of this to actually stick to road surfaces, especially those elevated surfaces on the west side of the state. There's also a bit more dry air over us as you get into mid-Michigan, so I think this system could at least glance a few of our areas, unless there's a really big shift with some of our data later tonight. This seems like it's going to be a fairly minor issue for us. I hope it stays that way. But the one thing I will say is that this system, when it came through in our forecast data today, it was a little bit farther north than it has been the last couple of days. So I would say if you can check back one more time tomorrow morning just to be on the safe side, I would certainly do that. But if we fast forward to even about noon, we're still in that 36, 37 degree range. Maybe there are some snowflakes that are falling at that point. But the further into the morning we get, of course, and as we start to warm up, obviously the less concern that we have as far as anything major sticking to the roads, especially when there's that possibility of some mix getting in there tomorrow. We'll likely see some scattered showers through the day, and again, just because it's above freezing doesn't mean we can't see snowflakes, but I also think there is the potential that it could be more of a rain and snow mix, or just outright rain, at least at times for tomorrow. And then once we get into Tuesday night, it really just starts to fade away, and eventually we clear our skies out. That sets us up for a pretty nice Wednesday, a chilly start in the 20s on Wednesday, but 20s once we get into mid-November, pretty typical stuff. So I don't think that's going to be terribly significant, and we will have a chance to obviously warm up a little bit more. I think we're back, honestly, in the 40s on Wednesday. So this map that I'll show you right here, and it looks like we've got 42 people on the stream for tonight, and that's good. We're going to do this every night, roughly about 9 o'clock, give or take a few minutes after 9. But this is the winter weather impacts map. This is a map from the National Weather Service that they put out. It's essentially an algorithm that combines how much precipitation you have, what that might do out on the roads. Wind is involved a little bit. And with tomorrow's system, we're at the very bottom of the scale in the southern portions of lower Michigan. And the reason I also wanted to show you this was it also defines the path of the system based on the latest expectations pretty well. Where it goes mostly northwest to southeast through the area. Again, clipping areas like Gratiot, Shiawassee, and Genesee especially, and maybe even a small sliver of Saginaw County as well. But the further north you go, if you're in an area like Saginaw itself, Bay City, Midland, Mount Pleasant, anywhere north of there, or even as you're starting to get into the thumb, you may not see much wet weather at all for tomorrow. So I think it's primarily these areas. We'll see if there's any more shifting that goes on tonight. But even if we do see a shift, if there's any accumulation at all, even if this fast forwards its timeline, gets to us a little bit sooner than what it's currently projected to do, I would say maybe a half inch on the grass. If anything, it doesn't really look like this is going to be something that sticks around for a long period of time. Let me see if I can pull up a couple of maps that are put out by the Weather Service in Detroit. It's a tool that we use on occasion during the winter months, and what they do is they put out these probability maps. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here is our Mac Mini tool. Let me pull that up, and we'll fade it right here. This is the tool I'm talking about. And so what it does is it takes a lot of our models together, and out of all of the models that we use, it gives us what they think is the percentage chance of a certain scenario happening. And so, again, if you look at this, and we'll just use 1 inch of snow because this is the easiest thing to do in this situation, because the only other option is if we go down to 1/10 of an inch. But it's only giving certain areas of mid-Michigan maybe a 10 to 25% chance of picking up an inch of snow or more. And so we don't really feel good about those odds. And even if we went down to 1/10 of an inch of snowfall or more, there's only a 67% chance that an area like Owasso could pick up about 1/10 of an inch of snow out of the system. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're working with. These models that we use that combine all of the data that we use, they're not perfect, but they give you a general sense as to where some of the heaviest precipitation is going to be. And with this system itself, it's not necessarily going to be a system that's heavy to begin with. But relatively speaking, it seems like the better odds of more of the heavier precipitation relative to this system's potential is again going to be on that west side of the state, like I was telling you before. And that is why we're getting that winter storm severity index, as low as it might be. That's why it's highlighting more in the southwestern corner of West Michigan and, southwest corner of the lower peninsula in West Michigan, extending over into areas like Jackson, Lansing, and also towards the Detroit, and not so much in the TV5 viewing area. So that is kind of where tomorrow's system stands. And I know we did get some new people on the stream here, so I'll go through this one more time. But we're quiet through much of tonight. We're pretty much clear through the first several hours of the overnight period. I think you'll start to see a little bit more precipitation as we get closer to about 7:30 tomorrow morning, but it may not be here just yet. And then as it starts to approach, how well it holds together after that, I think could be a question as well. And then even as it moves through, it's fairly disorganized, and it seems like the odds are just better that this happens outside of the TV5 viewing area, at least as far as anything that could cause any widespread issues out on the road. So if anybody has any questions, it's not a terribly exciting winter storm or anything like that. It's certainly not going to be anything to write home about, but I know anytime winter weather happens, it's a little bit more fascinating. It gets a little bit more attention, and I know everyone worries about their commute, but I would say, at least at this time, I don't expect anything to be, I would say, too impactful for the morning commute tomorrow for most areas. And frankly, I think we'll probably get through that really significant time frame of what I would say is probably 4:30 to about 8. We might be able to get through most of that, if not all of it, dry, depending on how things shake out. So it looks like someone did ask about Midland. Yeah, Midland's far enough north to where I'd be shocked if you see much wet weather at all. I think it would take another shift to the north for that to happen tonight. We'll see what our next round of data that we get until a little bit later tonight. We'll see if anything changes there, but I don't anticipate that happening at this point. I would say if you're in Bay County, I wouldn't expect a lot of wet weather out of this. If you're north of US 10, really, I don't think you'll have too much to worry about. Let's see if anyone else. Kristen says hi. Hi, Kristen. Not really seeing a ton more. Appreciate you all joining in. We will have more exciting discussions, I promise you that. Here's a look at your hunting forecasts, just to be thorough here. If we have any hunters, if anyone thinks of any questions, should be pretty light with the winds the next couple of days. I know it was a pretty breezy opening day weekend for those of you who did go out. Did you have any luck? Good question there. But yeah, Tuesday, light winds. I don't think they necessarily start northeasterly for everybody tomorrow morning, but I think we eventually work our way northeasterly just about everywhere by the end of the day. Wednesday's wind, light and variable, nothing to really write home about. And then Thursday is probably the strongest wind compared to the other two of the next 3 days, but even then, it's only about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Ethan, good to see you. Jenny checking in from Saginaw. And for those of you who are not ready to go into the freezer permanently this season just yet, the 7-day does show some potential to get back towards 50 by the end of the weekend and also early next week. We did have some rain chances here Thursday and Friday of the 7-day forecasts. Ignore that. That wasn't supposed to do that. But we did have some chances Thursday and Friday in the 7-day forecast, but we have lowered those with this afternoon's forecast information. I wouldn't be shocked if they lower even more in the coming days. The system just doesn't look as put together as it did over the weekends. So I'm going to add just kind of a general chance for showers Thursday and Friday, but don't be surprised if that gets a little bit drier. Still 30 people on. Again, feel free to ask questions. Expecting, this to be a pretty easy event to get through tomorrow. All things considered, maybe a few slippery areas in the morning if it comes in soon enough. But right now, the timing seems to point towards more of an issue from West Michigan if you are just joining us. And the fact that there's no advisories or anything issued right now, at least for our area. I haven't checked the Grand Rapids forecast office. I would imagine they'll do that tomorrow morning if they're going to do so, but even then, I'd be kind of surprised if they do. Gina from Breckenridge. Good evening, Gina. Let's see what else we've got. Tomorrow, probably a chilly day, just so you know. If you're preparing to be outside at any portion of tomorrow, upper 30s, low 40s, pretty standard mid-November day, a little bit cooler than average. But it does seem like we're getting into that time of year where that's going to become more frequent, of course, long term. If you look all the way to the start of December, the fact that December 1st is in the 2-week time frame is kind of hard to believe, but a lean towards above average temperatures towards the first of the month. Keep in mind, though, average towards the end of this month starts to dip closer to the upper 30s to low 40s. So all it means, if we're above average, is, hey, maybe it's a couple of days in the mid 40s. Interesting tidbit that I looked up in recent weeks, because a lot of people have asked me about the winter ahead. Seasonal forecasting, always pretty tricky. You can look for some indicators, but even when you look at as many indicators as there are, you know how weather works, especially in the state of Michigan. But one thing that I did find interesting was if you take just December, January, and February, Saginaw averages about 29 to 38 inches of snow just in the winter. So that, again, December, January, February, Saginaw only averages about 29 to 38 inches for what it would be considered as normal. The last time we had something that was above normal in snowfall, just for the winter months, was all the way back in 2014. And if you remember 2014, that was that year where we had the polar vortex. The polar vortex, of course, is a term that's been around for a long time, but that was the year that that term really got to be in the headlines and things like that. So that's how long it's been since we've had an above average winter. So, my informal thoughts, we've got a weak La Nina, that typically is wetter But how many winters have we had over the last several years that you've got rain involved in a lot of these systems? And it's been a long time since we've had a cooler than average winter as well. So I'd probably lean just the fact that it's a wetter result usually with weak La Niñas. That is something that's pretty typical. I would probably lean towards normal snowfall, somewhere between that 29 and 38 inch range. And then I'd probably lean probably close to average temperatures. We may, just because we have average temperatures though, doesn't mean we don't have some cooler periods, we don't have some warmer periods, but I think at the end of the day, it'll probably average out to be, I would say, either normal temperatures or maybe slightly below. But it's really tough to get below average temperatures these days when it comes to the winter season. It's our fastest warming season in the state of Michigan over the last 50 years. And the comment I always get with that is, winter now is not like the 70s and 80s. And that's definitely true in a lot of years that we've had. Now, we get good years. Last year was actually a pretty good year with Saginaw Bay ice, if I remember right. But the year before, we had like historic lows. And the ice seasons on the Great Lakes have not been good either. So not seeing, yeah, Sherry, you're asking about snow. Is it going to be farther south tomorrow? Yes. I would say this map tells the story. I don't want to really show a snowfall accumulation map just because I think our accumulation potential locally is relatively small. Could get some minor accumulations if we get, if we stay cold enough, long enough for the system to come through. Right now, kind of seems a little borderline for that. But I think this graph, or this map right here, tells the story. I think it's primarily this area right here. And even then, I don't think it's a guarantee that these areas get clipped a whole lot by this system. We're on what seems to be a razor's edge. I really think areas like Kalamazoo, Jackson, Lansing, and Grand Rapids, much more likely for that. So anyway, I will let this stream go because we do have a 10 o'clock newscast coming up in a half hour. And as you can see, I like to keep it casual on our live chats because I'm a normal person outside of a suit and tie. We wear that on the air, but I think this is a chance to kick back a little bit with all of you. So I do have to get a suit and tie back on. So that's going to take me a minute. I'll take a look at some of the latest data that is coming in later tonight. But if you are new to our stream, we're going to do this pretty much every night. I'm in the office at 9 o'clock, give or take. If it starts at 9:05 some nights, if you're really hoping to tune in, you'll usually get an alert. We'll put out a push alert on the TV5 app. We'll put out an alert on the First Alert weather app so you know that a stream is about to happen. But we'll do this every night, and I think as we go through the winter, this will be more, again, productive when we start to have bigger storm systems. We'll talk about how they're evolving, and we'll actually be able to probably track them together as they move across the country and we get set for them to cause some snowfall for us at some point in the winter. But I don't think tomorrow is anything to write home about. So with that, I will end the stream. For those of you who need to ask a question, feel free to do that. I always tend to look back at the comments just to be on the safe side if anyone has anything after. But otherwise, I hope you all have a great Monday night, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow.